Good morning, 5W. Time for chapter 4. We all mourned Martha, but within a few weeks we had almost forgotten her. I sometimes dreamed about her and reached out in my sleep for her hand or her hair and then felt a pang. But Martha's place was soon taken by another little girl, a baby called Eliza. "Well, that's my name," said our Eliza. "Oh, let me hold her. She's such a little darling." Eliza and Mother fussed excessively over the baby. I thought her a plain, puny little thing with a mewling wail that was almost aggravating. "Oh, Hetty, you should have heard yourself when you were a baby. You shrieked like a banshee," said Jem, chuckling. I was so relieved to see that Jem showed only a mild interest in my new little sister. He was fonder than ever of me, taking me everywhere with him. Father wanted Jem to help out on the farm when he wasn't at school, so Jem took me along too. I helped with the harvest. I dug for potatoes. I milked the cows. I thought at first that they were our crops, our cattle, and all the land was ours. It certainly felt that way, for all the other men treated our big father with respect. Some of the young lads even doffed their caps to him. But when Jeff took me to the harvest supper in the barn beside the big farmhouse, I saw our father doff his cap to Farmer Woodrow. His wife, Mrs. Woodrow, was pouring cider and serving great plates of meat to everyone. She laughingly gave Jem half a tankard and said, "Only give your sister a sip, young Jem." She was peering at me curiously. I stared back at her, and she laughed and pulled one of my red plaits. "She looks a fiery one," she said. "So she's one of your mother's foundling children?" Jem pulled me onto his lap protectively. "Yes, ma'am. This is our Hetty." "Well, it looks as if your mother's doing a good job with her. How much does she get paid for looking after her?" I craned round. Jem was red in the face. "I don't rightly know, ma'am," he said, "but our Hetty's worth her weight in gold." "What did that lady say?" I asked, when Mrs. Woodrow had passed along the bench to patronise other village children. "Oh, take no notice," said Jem, which of course made me notice more. "Does Mother get paid for looking after us?" I asked. "I'm big, not little like you. I don't need looking after," said Jem, not really answering my question. That Christmas, Mother made me a doll, a rag baby with a sacking dress and a scrap of white muslin for a bonnet. She had little button eyes and a mouth that smiled. I thought her the most beautiful doll in the world and cradled her in my arms all the time, even while I ate my roast chicken. Gideon looked longingly at my soft, pretty rag baby and begged to hold her just for a moment. Mine was the only doll. The new baby, Eliza, was too little for dolls, and big Eliza and Rosie, great girls long past the doll stage. Gideon's own present was a little horse carved out of wood by Father. It was an excellent horse with its own brown leather saddle. Saul had a horse with a saddle too, and made it gallop across the floor. Jem and Nat got pocket knives, and Rosie and Eliza bead necklaces, one blue and one green. Marcus and Bess and Nora, the grown-up children, were not given leave to come home, but Mother had sent them parcels. She said she sent another parcel too, a twin rag baby to mine, specially for Martha. "Will Martha have a lovely Christmas day like us?" I asked. "Oh yes, Hetty, she'll have a wonderful time with all her new sisters. I dare say they'll all get lots of presents and fancy food, and they'll play games and have such larks," said Mother. "Don't you worry your little head about Martha, Hetty." I did still worry. Mother did too. When I trailed downstairs that night to trek out to the privy, I'd had 2 helpings of figgy pudding and had a bad stomachache. I found Mother weeping in a corner, holding Martha's old checked pinafore, clutching it to her chest as if it was her own rag baby. Mother took me out to the privy and held my hand while I groaned, and then when I was better she carried me back indoors. It was chilly downstairs without a fire, but Mother wrapped me up tight in Father's huge smock and cradled me in her arms. "There now, my lambkin," she said. "I have you safe, don't fret." Her voice was hoarse and I felt a tear drop on my face. I wrenched a hand free from my tight wrappings and reached up and stroked her damp cheek. "There now, Mother," I said. "Don't you fret." She laughed at that, but she was still crying too. She murmured something. I didn't quite catch what she said, but now I am absolutely certain it was, "I shall miss you so, Hetty Feather." The enormity of what was to happen to me didn't dawn until late spring, when Saul went. For days, Mother had been favouring him, pretending not to see when he poked me with his crutch, when he tripped Gideon, when he pinched Eliza in her cradle. Mother rubbed his poorly leg and encouraged him to stand up straight when he walked. "That's it, my little man. Step out like a soldier. Left, right, left, right." "Yes, I'm a soldier, like my brother Nat. I'm a soldier and I shoot people with my gun," said Saul, aiming his crutch at me. "Bang, bang, you're dead, Hetty." He banged so enthusiastically he struck me sorely in the chest. "No, you're dead, Saul," I said, seizing the broomstick. "I'm a soldier and I'm on my horse, gallopy, gallopy, and I'm going to whack, whack, whack you." Hetty, stop that now. Stop plaguing us. I need a little time with your brother," said Mother, pushing me away. I flounced off in a temper. Jem was at school, so I played with Gideon instead. "We'll play whacking, Gideon," I said. "No, I don't want to," Gideon whimpered. "I'm not going to whack you, Gid. We'll whack Saul. Whack, whack, whack." "Not really," said Gideon, looking horrified. "Yes, really. We'll whack him and bash him and stamp on him," I said. "We'll hurt him," said Gideon. "He hurts us," I said, pulling up my dress and examining the angry red mark where Saul had prodded me with his crutch. "We must turn the other cheek." Gideon was parroting the Bible in a sickening fashion. He always listened hard at Sunday school and absorbed the moral lessons. I listened when there were tales of lions and whales and animals walking 2 by 2 into a great ark, but I didn't pay attention otherwise. I didn't feel like turning my other cheek to Saul, especially when Jem came home from school and he started making a fuss of Saul too. He gave him a piggyback ride all around the house and then let him play soldiers, taking pains to fall down dead every time Saul plotted him and shot at him. When I tried to join in too, Saul screamed, "No, no, no, this is boys' play, Hetty," and Jem didn't dispute this. I stomped off and murmured darkly to my rag baby, hating them all, even my Jem. I especially hated Saul. When Mother bade us kiss goodnight, I sucked my lips in tight and wouldn't kiss Saul. I did not relent, even when Mother shook me. "You will be sorry, Hetty," she said ominously. "No, I won't," I said, but it came out because my mouth was still shut into a slit. "Please, Hetty, there's a dear," Jem whispered into my ear, but I took no notice. Saul didn't care in the slightest. He laughed at me triumphantly, eyes bright, cheeks scarlet with excitement, the centre of everyone's attention. He didn't have any idea what was going to happen either, not till Mother woke him at dawn. I heard him getting cross, then crying, then screaming. I sat up, my heart thudding. I ran to him. Mother had him half dressed in his best Sunday clothes, but he was kicking hard with his good leg and pummelling with his arms. All the while he screamed, "No, Mother, no, I won't go!" Rosie and Big Eliza were trying to help Mother get him dressed, while baby Eliza wailed miserably in her cradle. "What are you doing? Why are you dressing Saul in his Sundays?" I asked. "For pity's sake, Hetty, I can't be doing with your questions, not now," Mother gasped. "Oh, Saul, my sweetheart, try to be a big brave boy." But Saul scrunched himself up small and sobbed. I stared at him. Suddenly I didn't care about all his proddings and pinchings. He was Saul, my brother, and I couldn't stand to see him so scared. I plunged forward and threw myself at him, planting eager wet kisses on his cheek and neck and curly hair. Saul clung to me. "Oh, Hetty, Mother's taking me away to the hospital and I can't never come back," he sobbed. "No, you can't, Mother, you won't," I shouted, and I started hitting and kicking her too. Jem and Nat had to carry me away while Mother persisted with dressing Saul. I don't know whether he continued to cry. My own shrieks were too loud for me to hear anything else. Nat thumped me hard and shouted at me. Jem held me close and whispered soft words into my ear, but I didn't respond to either brother. I was lost in the horror of losing Saul. I would never ever have the chance to be a good sister to him. I screamed until my throat was raw. I went on screaming until I slept. When I woke, I had no idea whether it was morning or afternoon. The house was horribly silent, though I could hear a little snuffling noise close by. I reached out across the bed, but there was no one there. The snuffling continued from under the bed. I leaned out, hung my head down and saw Gideon curled up beneath me. "Oh, Gid," I croaked, barely able to talk. "Come up into the bed." But he wouldn't. So I crawled underneath beside him, lying on the cold, dusty floorboards. "What are you doing, Gideon?" I asked. "Are you pretending to be a chamber pot?" I said it to make him laugh, but he went on snuffling. "You cry ever so quietly," I observed. "I scream and scream." "I know," said Gideon thickly. His face was so sodden with tears and snot he could scarcely breathe. I very kindly lifted up my nightgown hem and mopped him dry. "Is Mother back?" I asked. "Yes, but Saul isn't," Gideon whispered. I swallowed. My throat hurt so much I held it on the outside, clasping my neck with both hands. "I was a bad sister to him," I said wretchedly. I wriggled nearer to Gideon. "I shall be a lovely sister to you now, Gid," I said, putting my arms round him. I was smaller than him, but he felt very little and spindly in my arms. I could feel him trembling. "Hetty, will Mother take us to the hospital?" "Hush," I said sharply. It felt so much worse to have Gideon put it into words. I shook him a little and then felt bad. Hadn't I only just that minute promised to be a good sister? "Of course Mother won't take us," I said as firmly as I could. I patted Gideon encouragingly. "You are her favourite. She wouldn't ever take you, and Jem wouldn't let her take me. Mother won't take us. Never, never, never. Say it, Gideon, never." "Never, never, never," we chanted. I thought I would ask Mother, just to be certain sure, but somehow the words dried in my sore throat when I saw her. She was grey with grief, clutching little Eliza to her bosom, tears rolling down her cheeks. I asked Jem instead. "You won't let me go to that hospital, will you, Jem?" "No, Hetty," said Jem, hugging me tight. I looked up at his face. His eyes were very red. "Have you been crying, Jem?" I asked. Jem never cried. He didn't even cry the day one of the horses bolted and knocked him to the ground. He got kicked in the head, so that one side of his poor face was black with bruises for weeks. "I'm staying here for ever and ever, aren't I, Jem?" I said again. "And Gideon too." "Yes, Hetty, of course you are," Jem said again and again, but he still didn't seem quite sure enough. I couldn't get to sleep that night, and when I eventually dozed off, I dreamed of Saul. A large, cruel nurse was picking him up and plunging him into the water butt, trying to drown him like a newborn kitten. I screamed at her and she seized me too, holding me fast by the scruff of the neck. I struggled in the butt and her hand pushed me down and down and down in the murky water. I woke with a start and found there was murky water in my own bed too. I thought Mother would be cross with me for being such a baby, but she scarcely said a word. She moved slowly around the house, her head bowed. She fed and changed Eliza and cooked bacon and cabbage for all of us. But most of the time she sat staring at the floor, wringing her big red hands. Rosie ushered us out of the cottage to give Mother some peace. We were huddled miserably on the doorstep when Father came striding home. "Hello, chickens!" He ruffled our heads and sighed. "Oh dear, no cheeps from any of you," he said, stepping over us with his great legs. He said no more until he'd eaten his supper. Then he lit his pipe and called us to come and stand by his chair. "Nat, go down to the Otter Inn and fetch me a tankard of ale. No spilling a drop, do you hear? Jem, you go with him. Eliza, go and see to your namesake sister. See if you can quieten her grizzling. Rosie, take Mother upstairs. She needs to lie down. Be off, all of you. I want to have a word with Hetty and Gideon." When they were all gone, he shook his head at us. "Such long faces. Are you missing young Saul?" "Most dreadfully, Father," I said. He blinked at me. "Why, Hetty, you do surprise me," he said. "You two were always fighting. No doubt you're full of remorse now." I nodded. I wasn't yet sure what remorse meant, but the cold, sour, sick feeling in my stomach seemed to sum it up. "Poor child," said Father, patting me. I climbed up onto his great lap and nuzzled my face against his chest. I could hear his heart going thump against my cheek. "Mother won't take me away, will she, Father?" I said into the rough cotton of his smock. "Nor Gideon?" I waited. I felt Father take several deep breaths. "Not till next year, my sweetheart, when you are both much bigger." "No, no, not then, not ever!" I shrieked, pummelling him with my fists. "Stop that now, Missy," said Father, catching both my flailing hands in his large one. You've shrieked enough today, I'm told. There's no point wailing when it can't be helped. Now hush and listen. Mother and I love you, love Gideon, love little Eliza, just like our own children. We still love Saul. And Martha, I said. And Martha, said Father, seeming surprised. I'd remembered her. But you're not our children. You're little waifs from the Foundling Hospital. You came to us as tiny babies. Mother has a knack with specially frail babies. She rears you up until you're fat and rosy-cheeked. He gently poked me in the cheeks with his thumb and finger, but I wriggled free, a new thought having struck me. I was remembering the pig out in the backyard. Mother had a piglet every year, pale and puny. She fed it and fattened it until it could barely sway on its trotters. And then Father came along, and although we weren't supposed to watch, we heard squeal, 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 and the next day there was fresh pork on our plates. Is she fattening us up? To eat us, I said, gazing at Father as if he was an ogre. He stared back at me, slack-mouthed, and then he roared with laughter. Oh, Hetty, you're a funny one, he chortled. Of course no one's going to eat you. Mother will take you back to the Foundling Hospital when you're big enough, and you'll live with lots and lots of other girls. Martha will be there, so you'll have one sister, and you'll be with the boys, Gideon, and Saul will be your brother. I want to be with Hetty, said Gideon, but Father paid him no heed. We need to be with you, Father, and Mother, and my Jem, I said. Please can't we stay? I promise I'll be very, very, very good. I'll never shout or kick or cry ever again. You're a caution, Hetty, said Father. We would love you to stay here with us. We'd like to keep all our dear foster children, but you do not belong to us. You belong to the hospital. All foundlings must be returned by their 6th birthday. Don't look so worried. I'm sure they will be kind to you as long as you are a sensible girl, Hetty. They will school you properly and teach you to be a good Christian child. Will we live there forever? No. They'll train you up to be a servant girl, and you will go away into service when you are 14, said Father. Like Bess and Nora, I said. Just like our Bess and Nora, said Father. And then I dare say you can come home to us once a year just as they do. I pondered. Last Mothering Sunday I had admired my big sisters in their fancy print dresses and fine stockings when they travelled home on a visit. But they told Mother tales of cross cooks who beat them over the head with ladles and sly masters who tried to sneak kisses. I do not want to be a servant girl, I said. Will I be a servant girl? Asked Gideon. Don't be dim-witted, lad, said Father. No, I dare say you'll be a sailor or a soldier boy, like our Marcus. I will be a sailor or a soldier and go adventuring, I said. You are a very strange pair, said Father, sighing. Now jump down and give me a little piece. But you must tell us about the hospital, Father, I demanded. Hetty, I don't know anything about the hospital. I've never even set foot inside it. I just know it's a good place for little children, and you need never say you're ashamed to come from there, said Father. Now stop plaguing me, girl. My head's aching. Father might never have been to this Foundling Hospital, but Mother had. Come with me, Gideon, I whispered, as Father sucked on his pipe and closed his eyes. I tiptoed up the stairs, tugging Gideon behind me. Rosie was guarding the door to Mother's bedroom, but I was bold. Father said, we must talk to Mother, I said. I heard Gideon gasp at my outright lie. Rosie hesitated, but I pushed right past her determinedly. It was dark in Mother's room, the curtains drawn shut as if it was night time. I could just make out the shape of Mother lying on her back. I wondered if she'd gone to sleep, but when I clambered carefully up onto the bed, her arm came out and held me tight. I hauled Gideon up too, and he nestled on her other side. My lambs, she murmured. Mother, Father has told us about the hospital. Is it truly a good place? I asked. I felt Mother stiffen. She swallowed hard. Of course it's a good place, Hetty, she said. I wondered if Mother could be a liar too. I lay thinking about it. Did Saul cry a lot when you said goodbye? I asked. Mother might be a brave liar, but she wasn't foolish. Yes, he cried, she said. And did Martha cry too? Yes, Martha cried too. I shall cry, Gideon whispered. I shall scream and kick and be so bad they won't let me stay, and then Mother can take me home, I said. See you on Monday, 5W. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.